Hello everyone. Let's start. I think you may be connected at the moment. So I'm Rachel Delacour. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sweep. I'm really happy to welcome you in this webinar because last month we launched Sweep for Supply Chain and we are so excited to share this with you. It's our first webinar. We know that reducing supply chain emissions is a very, very big carbon challenge. You are here to hear us about it. Yeah, so Anna Maria is also welcoming you. So today we want to show you how you can directly involve your suppliers to collect, calculate, and monitor carbon data, setting joint reduction targets, but also, everything to drive collaborative climate action across your supply chain. Sweep is all about it, all about maximizing your impact, going far beyond your direct responsibility, or making sure that you are, involving everyone to maximize the emissions you are reducing. So we'll start with a fireside chat between Renaud Bettin, our VP of Climate Action at Sweep, and the Sustainable Procurement expert, Cesare Guarani, who brings over 30 years of experience, having worked for major multinationals like Johnson & Johnson, but also Philip Morris International. This will be followed by a Sweep for Supply Chain demo run by our solutions engineer, Quentin Siro. You are in very good hands. And at the end, we will open up the floor to an audience Q&A. So I'm really delighted to hand it over to Renaud and Cesare. Thank you very much for your attention. And I give the floor to Renaud and Cesare.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. Thanks. Welcome everyone. Welcome, Cesare. Again, on behalf of the Sweep team and every participant here, I welcome you and thank you very much for accepting our invitation. As Rachel said, your background is impressive, and we are lucky to have you here today. We are seeing more and more job title around procurement with that term sustainable. So we see some sustainable procurement officer, not only chief procurement officer. And I just wanted to ask you a very simple question. What was your job? Few months ago?
Yes. Hello, and everyone, also from my side. And first of all, thank you to you, Renaud, and also for the Rachel for the introduction, and to Sweep for the opportunity to have this conversation today. Over the past 10 years, I worked dedicated to sustainability procurement, 7 years in Clariant in the chemical industry, and the last 3 years at Philip Morris in international. Both these roles globally, and both these roles part of the procurement leadership team. So my role was directly reporting to the respective company CPOs. The remit was to develop and deploy strategies to achieve the corporate objective sustainability through the contribution the procurement and supply chain would be making against those.
Okay, thank you. So I think we are at the crossroads today. It looks like large corporation, large businesses has just realized that procurement represents like 70% of their global footprint. So it's definitely at stake. But why? Could you tell us why is it so difficult to mobilize the supply chain around sustainability and especially around decarbonization?
Well, first of all, I think that the time has passed when sustainability was seen as a compliance exercise, a corporate initiative that we need to be doing some sort of minimum effort against, ticking a box and move on. This has become, and rightly so, a major undertaking and one of the major business transformation initiatives that any company has today. Why? Because this is required to future-proof your operations, your company, and making sure the sustainability becomes the way you do your business. And if you accept this premise, and the companies are behaving more and more like that, then like any transformation to be successful, also sustainability needs to become a change management program. And the complexity really, first of all, comes from the fact that you are going to be driving a change in the way that your colleagues, your internal stakeholders, your external partners actually do their business. And that's where the complexity comes from by the fact that you will have to influence and engage with very diverse type of stakeholders and helping them, supporting them, changing the way they actually go by running their business. For procurement and supply chain, this is even bigger challenge because all of a sudden it becomes an end-to-end supply chain scope. Traditionally, procurement has been by and large engaging with the tier one suppliers. But we as consumers expect that the brand owners deal with the issues of potential, real, existing, or coming, wherever they are along the supply chain. We're not interested to know whether this is tier 1, 2, or 3. We don't want to have child labor. We want to have CO2 reduction reduced, wherever that is. And you, brand owner, with the products on the shelf that we're going to buy it, need to guarantee that. So that's a very big change versus the traditional tier 1, by and large, scope of procurement. And then, of course, there is another very important element. More often than not, also in these webinars, I'm sure there is companies, we represent companies that tend to be, the large global multinational, and more often than not, also global leaders in their respective industries. And certainly in our supply base, we have a lot of these companies too. But very quickly, then you come to other types of companies that are smaller in size, they're more regional, they're more local. And that means that you will be having to influence and engage with companies that have less awareness, less capabilities, and less resources. And therefore, the complexity and the challenge that go with it in terms of capability building and making sure that those ones, also suppliers, are equipped in the right way to join the journey that you wish them to be on. And then, of course, last but not least, we need to make sure that we find the right balance and that we find the right ways to make sure that resources are allocated to sustainability in a context where the financial pressure is here and is here to stay.
I mean, last weeks, I've seen a lot of big companies that are just asking their suppliers to collect the data and to share the data with them. But don't you think that's the role of the biggest companies of the world that has committed to be net zero? I just remember you that there is more than 2,700 companies that are committed to be aligned with science, or with the science-based initiative. Don't you think that's the role of the biggest one, to help the suppliers, the small one, to be engaged? And you mentioned equipped, but it's probably would be the in the best case scenario is equipped with a tool, but that's the role of the biggest one to help. No?
Absolutely, Renaud. I think here it's very critical. When you are a global leader like the companies we represent in your respective market, your leadership role goes well beyond your own scope of your operations. So first of all, you need to make sure that you invest in, as briefly mentioned earlier, in a program that is going to enhance significantly the capabilities of your supply base. This is a must. The second one, companies like individuals. We look at, we hear what people say, what companies say, but we actually follow what companies do. So it is very important to make commitments and public commitments about CO2 reduction, but it is as important, and in fact, eventually, and actually very quickly, much more important to deliver tangible results against those commitments and make those investments in resources and in capability building needed to actually achieve those results.
Mhm.
The other thing that is also very important and I've seen in that clearly in my experience is that, again, moving the sustainability discussion with your supply base from compliance to sustainability as value driver. So once you're able to show your suppliers what sustainability as value brings in terms of cost, the studies are out there and more are clearly available. Not doing sustainability is not that you're going to be paying more for a product. You're actually going to be paying more for being business because legislations are coming, because consumers want sustainable products, and so on and so forth. The second element is that suppliers will, by joining the sustainability journey, actually guarantee the license to operate. I worked in the chemical industry, and it was very clear that if you are a supplier based outside of Europe, let's say, you need to make sure that you have sustainability programs in place, because you are at risk that your local or national governments or simply consumer protesting are going to lead to your operation to be shut down. And then it doesn't matter how much you made it. You may be willing to pay the product, you will not get it. The third one, I think, and even more important, has to do with the sustainability as superior financial value creation opportunity. If you take a company's, the studies are out there. Dow Jones Sustainability Index is run by Robeco-Sam. Robeco-Sam is an investment boutique with 200 billion of assets under management. And they have clear studies that show that the top performing companies in sustainability versus the bottom performing companies, the financial value creation, total value creation to shareholders is anywhere between 20, 30, and 40% gap over a 6, 8, 10-year period. So it's counterintuitive to think that if you are more sustainable, you're going to create more value. Now the data are there to actually confirm it. And then lastly, I think the other value creation is around talent attraction. Now, I've been in the last 10 years, with my colleagues in the different companies, selecting young MBA students for internship programs. And all of them would be keen to work on the one and only priority, sustainability. And all of them, when we ask them a question, do you have questions for us? He says, yes, I'd like to know more about your sustainability strategies and how you're going to combat climate change. So it's very clear where the value is and how sustainability creates it for all the stakeholders involved.
I've just read an article, right before the webinar, about the fact that companies in that time crisis with, of course, the COVID, but also the energetic crisis, war in Ukraine, they are still investing in decarbonization process, and it saved the companies. So what I hear from you is that engaging the whole company, but also the supply chain, the value chain, I would say. Value is, to me, is a key term. Instead of talking about supply chain, but the value chain make your business more resilient. It mitigates the risks, but it can prove a competitive advantage. Let's talk about the carbon intensity. When you ask your suppliers to share the carbon intensity, the real emission factor, it will help them to gain some new market shares. So in terms of businesses, it's just a good way to do.
Absolutely. And talking about relationship, Renaud in particular, what you're hinting at, and the importance on the business relationship between buyers and suppliers. Absolutely. I think, over people that have worked few years like me have seen this dramatic and very exciting development over the years on the relationship between buyers and suppliers. We were told 30 years ago, it's arm's length, it's negotiation, is putting pressure on suppliers. And
pricing and quality. So
that was quality, and the whole discussion was there, and it was over. Luckily, then you start to have other elements of performance that came on stream, service, innovation, and now sustainability. And all of a sudden, you realize that, arm's length is outdated, that the way to actually create superior value is collaboration. And I strongly believe, in my experience, is that in sustainability, every company is looking for differentiation and competitive advantage. In sustainability, collaboration is the competitive advantage and the only way forward. No one is able to tackle the huge, enormous challenge, the challenges that we have in front of us. Only through collaboration, this is going to be possible.
But if you look at the scope 3, is just a shared responsibility. I mean, the biggest part of the global of the footprint of a company is just a shared responsibility. There's overlap, and overlap means dialogue and collaboration.
And absolutely, and I would go one step further. What we are seeing is that all of a sudden sustainability procurement goes again where procurement doesn't go, meaning tier 2 and beyond. We always say scope 3. We always say that 80% of our carbon footprint is in scope 3, and then we go to our suppliers. But where do we think their 80% of their carbon footprint is? With their suppliers, and further back, and sometimes it's 3, 4, 5, and more steps. So if you take this holistic view, and if you see the end game, where is the end point, where success will be achieved, then you need to be in this mindset that your collaboration and your influence will have to go much further beyond what the traditional scope has been until now.
Let me invite our participant to ask some question in the Q&A section. You can ask directly your question, then you can capture it and answer it directly. We see, I have in mind the railway company, French one, and other retailer that are asking their suppliers to be committed and with an approved target in the 3 next years. So don't you think, to be really concrete, do you think that a contract between a client and the suppliers could be renegotiated, with sustainability stuff and condition?
Well, this is where if you what does sustainability success look like? In my mind, is when sustainability will become considered as equal to other elements of performance in the supplier buying relationship.
That's the question. How do you balance the need for sustainability with the need for cost effectiveness in procurement decision?
Yeah, well,
how to elevate at the same level? Do you think it's possible?
It is a necessity in my mind, and it's only a matter of how this will have to be designed and implemented. In my experience, in the last company I've been in, we were starting to do just that. So what we what we like to refer to walk the talk. We would be starting to take business decisions based also on sustainability considerations. Screening of new suppliers. We had 5 different criteria. Equal weight. One of them is sustainability. Some suppliers were not performing very poorly on sustainability, and they were not selected as a potential partner to our company. And so only when you do this, and then it becomes real and tangible because it has a direct impact on the business relationship, then I think you will achieve a point where sustainability is really real. The other element that in my mind is so critical is the one around the internal governance model. So you as a company, you were mentioning at the beginning, the sustainability role. Where do you position your responsible person or team for sustainable procurement? Is it in a region? Is it under the category? Is it reporting to the CPO? And if you think that this is about also a change management program, what kind of profile you put in this role?
Mm-hmm.
Do you put the best people, the high potential talent, the ones who will, have a long-term career in the company? Will you make sure that the objectives on sustainability are integral part of your yearly compensation system? But not just of Cesare, this is sustainable procurement, but everyone in procurement and beyond. Because as they say, what gets measured gets done, and what gets rewarded gets done even better. Only then, when you will, have a stick into the game, then the real change eventually will happen.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for talking about the corporate climate governance. As I'm used to say, stay tuned, because the next white paper from SWIP will be published by the end of the month on that governance, and you will see, if you stay here in the webinar, you'll see how SWIP can allow companies to organize the governance. One last question, because I want to take to leave the floor to Quentin. But how do you see digitization of the sustainable supply chain? How it could facilitate efficiency of climate engagement?
Well, this is, indeed, this is a major must. We see this as consumer in our daily life, how digitizing activities has made, efficiency, as you say, and scalability much faster. This is much more critical and strategic for data flows that don't exist today. So what we're doing is a double jump. We're trying to create and generate data flows or collection systems and consolidation systems on something, emission factors, that don't exist today. And at the same time, we will make it digital immediately. This is so critical, and the scalability will be so accelerated and so cost efficient. So this is really a must. Also because the procurement organizations, and I lived it in my experience, has been very painful starting 3-4 years back on carbon emission factor data collection. It's all manual. It's all, very fragmented, difficult to bring it together. We need to switch very quickly. 80% of the resources that today we invest into data collection and consolidation in actually creating impact, which is using the data that are collected in a digital way, engage with our suppliers, and making sure that they drive programs to actually the end goal, which is impact, which is reducing a carbon footprint. And lastly, digital will also allow the acceleration of another, in my mind, very critical element, which is the creation of ecosystems or partnerships, where procurement, buyers, digital service providers, local governments, and whoever you come together and make change and impact happen.
And just to share one question, and then we will move to Quentin Dimo. Do you think that the software, the new software that SWIP is part of, could help to engage tier 2, tier 3, or tier 4? Because that's one of the biggest challenges tier 1 is not that difficult, but to cascade on the next one.
Absolutely. For me, the digital platforms challenge, one of the challenges is really that. How do you build within the collaboration space of a given customer that level of network that allows you to visualize what the connections among the different suppliers are, and therefore establish those data streams that will effectively allow you to go backward in your supply chain. So absolutely.
Do you think blockchain could be part of the solution?
I don't know, and I try to read as much as I can and keep myself updated. I see that eventually it's a technology will have a very significant say not only in the topic of today by across, but what I know, and that's again another very important element of the procurement performance and the value that we bring to our companies. We should continue to be very invested in understanding a highly dynamic and exciting space that the digital service provider market represents, because there will be no doubt an element of entrepreneurship that will be required also from us to engage with new providers, support them in the development of their solutions, joining forces with other companies, and integrate eventually in these ecosystems different solutions and different actors and stakeholders together.
Thank you very much. I guess you see my screen. What I wanted to say is that companies are facing two types of pressure. They are forcing regulation, and consumers are forcing them to act on their Scope 3 emissions. So of course the CSRD will force companies to measure properly their Scope 3 emission, but also to work to share and to design a transition plan, an action plan, compatible with climate science. And the other pressure is coming from themselves. As I said, more than 2,000 companies has committed to be 1.5, 2 degrees, and it includes the Scope 3 emissions, So Scope 3, as I told you, is just a shared responsibility. There's so many overlaps when you look at the categories: investment, usage of sold product, and of course, purchased goods and services. So, I mean, just to be direct, companies won't achieve their climate goals without suppliers' mobilization and engagement. So Dimo will show you how to embed your supply chain and to be accurate on the measurement. And the 3 steps we are going to show you right now is just the first step is prioritization, how to map your supply chain and identify the main sources of emission and work with them. Engage them. It doesn't mean collect the data. It means giving them the power to act by setting a target, setting some initiative to reduce their emission, and of course track, and then back and forth. That's the last step, collaboration. And I'm super happy that the DNA of this webinar is collaboration, because this is key. So there will be back and forth between the contractor, the big company, and suppliers to make it visible in the contractor trajectory.